This conference will now be recorded.
We have a full house tonight. Everybody's here. Good to see everybody. I'd like to take a look at the minutes from the last meeting.
Go ahead and make a motion to approve the minutes.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Very good. Next, I think I'd like to turn it over to Vicki.
Okay, thank you all for being here. This is a commission that gets the positions reappointed every year. And I had heard a couple of months ago that Brian was interested in completing his time with us, and we appreciated that very much. And I'll be back at the end of the year and probably the beginning of next year. But I'm very pleased that I found someone to fill that seat. It is a council president appointment, and it just has to be a formality at a council meeting. But Brady Truex has very graciously offered to sit in that seat, and he happened to be available tonight, so he's going to try to come next month as well and get his feet wet, so he's on board with a lot of things. And I think tonight's kind of a lengthy agenda, so I'll pass on introducing him a little bit more, but we'll do that in January when it's official. But he comes with a lot of things from the community, spent a lot of time, is a very big asset to the Albion community, has been with the school and also the Lions Club. He's worked with several town projects through the Lions Club. So we are very pleased to have him.
Thank you, Mr.
I'd like to add, he cannot back out either because I've had a nameplate made for him.
It's not now their main nameplate here.
It's official.
Thank you all.
All right. The next thing we'd like to do on the agenda is go ahead with the action on the parks, for the request for parks.
Thanks, Brian, and thank you for your time on the RDC board. So our committee met, did we start in January or was it actually February? We probably met 10, 11 meetings. We've got a committee of 7, and we've been putting a lot of time and effort in discussing the needs of what the needs are for this all-inclusive playground. So, sending a bunch of information. I know there's a lot of information, but you know, I think we'll I guess let you guys ask questions on what we're doing as far as the project, and then we can go. We've got a few letters, and then we have a video. So if you guys want to talk about the actual project first or funding, I'm sure you guys looked over. I don't want to go through here and read everything or go through, is that fine? So, yeah, and, I'll let Jalissa, she's got, some more information that she presented at town council, some fact findings, some more information besides just this letter. We'll let her go. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll start by introducing the committee that's here. We have Sonia Hall. She is an owner of an ABA therapy company here in Noble and in DeKalb County, as well as a mother, as you all know. Tiffany sits on the park board and also as a mother. And then we have Jamie, who works at Central Noble and has a child with a disability, and John, who sits with us kind of in a contractor seat, so he understands that side of things. And then for those of you that don't know me, my name is Jalissa. I'm the CEO at the Arc Noble County Foundations here in Albion, where we serve individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So we're looking at this playground from all ages. So we have a very well compiled representative committee of people throughout the community with background and knowledge in this population. So like Casey said, we started meeting in February. We are very excited to work with the town council, the park board, and funders to bring a playground to Albion for everyone to enjoy. We want everyone to have a space they can enjoy and have fun in, no matter their ability. The Diamond Discovery Zone, which is what we've titled it, will be fully inclusive and accessible playground where all children, adults, and family can play, explore, and grow together. In the last few months, we've been focused on meeting with vendors and learning about what they have to offer. It's important to know, and I know you guys have some books in front of you, no vendor can be compared apple to apple. They have varying products. While they may be similar, they're not always exactly the same. While we've been meeting with the vendors and reviewing what they have to offer, we've really been taking a look at the quality of the product, what the company's customer service is like, the material they're using, the maintenance, upkeep, and life of the equipment, and the vendor's knowledge and understanding of the population that we're wanting to serve. So it's also important to note we're looking to serve 0 to 99. There's no age limit. We want it to be a place that anyone, no matter their age or ability, will enjoy. We want it to have an aesthetic value. And then we're incorporating the 5 elements of play, which are to be inclusive and accessible while being universally designed, not just meeting those ADA requirements. So we're wanting wide paths and routes, flush transitions, and a unitary surface. Then we're looking at the multi-sensory play experience. So incorporating the tactile, vestibular, visual, proprioceptive, olfactory, and auditory senses all in play. We're wanting to encourage play together, considering sensory needs, so autism and sensory processing disorders, looking at cozy and quiet areas, and amenities such as benches or tables and shade. So we're taking into consideration what needs various populations are going to want. And then we want it to be a welcoming environment. So we're looking at that solitary play, onlooker play, parallel play, associative play, and cooperative play, which some of those are talked about in the handout you were given tonight. We have completed 10 site visits at various locations in Fort Wayne, Auburn, Warsaw, Michigan City, and Kendallville. I personally took my 2- and 5-year-olds to 9 of those, and we enjoyed all of them, but we really enjoyed the equipment that we could play on. We all could play on. So that's also important to know. I want to emphasize how proud I am of the committee for the great collaboration and thought that we've all put into the work we've done so far. As I did the site visits, it made me proud of our small town and the things that we're putting as priority into this space, which the bigger cities did not. None of the 9 sites I did had fencing around them, and that is huge, especially when you're looking at someone with autism or someone that's may elope. Parking was not always close by or paved, So not well thought out there. There wasn't seating. Many of them had segregation of play, so they would have an area for, say, 2 to 5 year olds, and then an area for 6 and up or whatever. And we really do not want to do that. We want to make sure that it's a space that anyone can be in, no matter their age. And then it was astonishing how many threw in an accessible swing and called themselves accessible. That's not accessible. So we've also taken note of considerations such as the height of the equipment, whether from the ground for younger children to stand at, or being accessible from a wheelchair or stroller, or the height of the swings. In the video later, you'll see some pictures where you'll see that the swings were at a height difficult for an adult to get in. So for a child, which is what all of these playgrounds that we visited were really gearing for, they weren't a well thought out layout there. We met with AWS in September, and we've been following the playground guidelines, which are on the back of the letter from them that you were given tonight. We do plan on applying for a grant with them. She was very impressed at all the work the committee has done so far. She said that usually when they get grant applications, the people applying for a playground have not done all of the work and have all the knowledge that we have. So she was very commended us very much on that. And again, she loved that we were not saying we're going to put this piece in and we're going to put this piece in and it's accessible, but we're going beyond and making it inclusive. So you do have a letter of support on the tables from them tonight. We did put out a Facebook teaser to the public on the park's Facebook page back in July, and response with excitement was very well received. We had within like 6 hours or something, thousands of reactions or comments. The biggest request was a fence, which we had already been putting at the top of our priority list. We've spoken with some families in the community, and we know that this is a very, very much needed space, and it would be enjoyed for many years to come. We're not done. We've just really began the process with looking at, while we know what equipment we would really like and things like that, we recognize that our work is nowhere near done. We have a list of donors, fundraiser ideas, and grants that we want to apply for, which was included in the packet that Casey previously sent out, but it's also not by any means done. We're continually adding to that. The committee is committed 200%, and we're willing to do whatever we need to make the dream of this space become a reality for the community. It's not something we're doing just for our loved ones, or just having them solely in mind. We're truly considering all people and needs. We also believe that the space will bring others from outside the community, simply because we would be the only one with a space as detailed and inclusive as we are envisioning and striving for. We're hopeful that people will come from the state park as well as the communities surrounding us. As I previously mentioned, many of the parks, local and within a few hours drive, are considering themselves accessible, but just with that one piece. I can't stress enough how much we put our heart and souls into this project, the entire committee. We want to make sure that everyone's included in that space everyone can enjoy, no matter their abilities. We recognize there is uncertainty of the economy and funds, especially in this unpredictable time, but we deeply, sincerely, and wholeheartedly ask for a written commitment from the RDC tonight. We plan to fundraise and make the dream a reality, but the funds you guys would commit to us would be a huge kickstart and essentially lay the groundwork for this project. We aren't just asking you to commit to a project that 5 years from now will be obsolete and no longer useful or being utilized. We fully believe in the life of the equipment, the need of the space, and the joy it will bring to so many families. And I think a testimony is the equipment we currently have in Diamonds has withstood quite a long time. It was interesting to me as I did site visits to see some of the equipment at different parks from various vendors was not always the quality that we currently have, and we're looking to continue that. we aren't looking at just dollar signs. We're looking at what's needed and necessary. We're thinking about community members and families that will utilize the space. A few of you in the room tonight have grandchildren or children or loved ones that would utilize it. We understand and recognize that it's a huge chunk of money, but we promise it will be worth it. Now that some of the committee has things to say as well.
So like Julissa said, I own a couple ABA therapy clinics in Noble and DeKalb counties. So those specifically serve children with autism. So I'm a board certified behavior analyst, specifically working with kids with autism. So I have some kind of statistics to go through on kind of the prevalence, like why is this needed? Is this something that is really needed in our community? Sometimes when you don't work with the population, you don't realize how prevalent it is. So right now in the United States, 1 in 31 children has a diagnosis of autism. And then 8.5% of children have a developmental disability. So to put that into perspective, so I took kind of the numbers from Noble County schools, and I added those all up, and I got about 6,500 students in Noble County. So with those statistics in mind, we would look at about 210 kids in Noble County diagnosed with autism, and another 550 children who have a developmental disability. So when you look at those numbers, you think, wow, like that's a pretty significant number. You're talking close to 1,000 kids in your county who have a developmental disability. And when you look at, like Julissa said, fencing was the #1 asked thing on that post that we put out. Noble County does not have a park with a fence, and neither do surrounding counties. DeKalb County does not either. We cannot take our kids from the center to go on field trips to parks to play because there are no fenced areas. We take our kids to the splash pad at Hidden Diamonds in the summer because it's fenced, and that's the only area that we can take them to. So 50% of children with autism wander or run away from safe areas. So when you're looking at a river right there, many of our parents have come to me and asked, is there somewhere for me to take my kid? And my answer to them is no. We don't have any parks that are accessible to them. And that's a big worry for parents. They don't have a place for their children to go to play. So kind of some background too, autism is not something that's declining. Disabilities are not declining. So is this going to be something that's needed in the community long term? Yes. So autism, I'm sure you guys have seen over the years, continues to increase. It's not something that's going away. It's not something that's going down. It's something that's going to be a need for a very long time. So kind of keeping that in mind in, is this needed? Is it going to be a long-term thing that we are going to need? And it is. So.
As a park board member, I'm very excited to see this coming to our parks. We already have a lot of visitation coming to our parks, and I think this is just going to add more to that. As a mother to a child who tends to elope when she gets frustrated, having a space where I can take her and her little sister to play, and if she gets frustrated, she can't just take off and run to that creek. She's a little bit older, but still, that's something that I feared when we were going out when she was younger. Having a place to take her, and if she got frustrated, I'd have to think, okay, where can she go? So knowing that it's going to be enclosed is going to be a huge benefit. And just by looking, and you guys have these great brochures in front of you, we have done so much research, going to parks and looking at this equipment. I'm now more aware when I'm out at parks of things because you think accessible, and 98% of the time, like what Joel said, it's just a swing. But by having something, and I know Jamie wishes she could be here tonight, but her little guy is sick. But as she brought up, you know, her kids can't play together because it's not a playground that Levi can play on and Delaney can play on. And so having a space where both of her kids can play, and even if Delaney wanted to play in the park adjacent, there is that option as well. So putting it, the location that we've got picked out, the I don't want to say blood, sweat, and tears, but we're getting to that point where we are sitting and going through these and narrowing it down and talking amongst each other to figure out what pieces we want we're really invested already. I mean, we are excited about this and excited what it's going to bring to Albion and the families that live here and the surrounding community.
In case you're sitting there thinking, Sonia said there's no parks that have a fence. Pin Diamonds does have a fence, but it's not the fence we need for this population, and that's important to know. If you visualize what that fence looks like, there's a good amount of space between each rail, and they can crawl through it. One thing about kids, especially with autism, they're determined and they're gonna figure out a way to get out if they want to get out, and we really would be opening the door for them to be like, here, go run. So we want a fence that's going to be not be able to be crawled through. Jamie couldn't be here tonight because her son is sick, but she did write a letter that she asked that I share with you guys. So she said, RDC board members, my name is Jamie Howard and I serve on the committee for the Diamond Discovery Zone. I'm also the treasurer and grants coordinator at Central Noble Schools, lending my grant knowledge to the committee, but most importantly, I'm a parent of a wheelchair-bound child. And I've seen firsthand how few opportunities there are for children like mine to experience the simple joy of life. Casey and I discussed this project and had me speak with the town council back in 2023. And I can't be more thrilled to see this coming to life. For most families, playgrounds are places of laughter, connection, and growth. But for many children with disabilities, they can be places of exclusion. The swings, slides, and surfaces simply aren't built for them. This project changes that story. An accessible playground isn't just a want, it's a need. The play is essential for every child's physical, social, and emotional development. A truly inclusive space with ramps, sensory play equipment, and wheelchair-friendly surfaces will allow every child to explore, learn, and play side by side. This playground will be more than equipment, it will be a symbol of what our community values. A place where inclusion isn't an afterthought, but the foundation. A space that tells every child and every parent that they belong. I can't tell you how excited my feisty 5-year-old boy will be to roll beside his sister as she runs up ramps and to actually be able to play by her side. By investing in this project, you're not just funding a playground, you're funding connection, confidence, and community. You're helping build a place where joy has no boundaries. Thank you for your support and for believing in a community where every child can play.
I'd like to add a note, if I may. I'm also a member of the committee, and I had 2 interesting experiences on this topic that, has been alluded to tonight, and Jamie mentioned this idea that kids can play side by side. I had visited that park that's by Parkview, I forget the name of it, but it's... Pardon?
Taylor Green.
Okay, yeah.
No,
Off at Devo.
Yeah.
Okay, a really nice park, and it has, I think, a lot of elements of inclusive, but isn't the real deal per se that the committee is really shooting for. But so my grandson, just 1-year-old, just learned to walk, and we take him there, and we got the grandchild. Unfortunately, my daughter was with me, so she's watching her daughter, and I had all I could do to keep an eye on this little kid. And in some of these things in the bridges, they got the wavy thing where even adults find it hard to navigate. So he's on there, and what I noticed was every single child that interacted with them, and they were of all ages. I think they went certainly up to upper grade school. I don't know if there were any high schoolers there, that might have been, but there were some adults on there, not many, but the young kids especially, they'd be running and they'd come to him, and they'd like break and go around them. It's like they were all very respectful, and I thought, well, that's interesting, so they're learning to kind of respect someone's abilities, and I thought that was pretty cool. And then in a bit of a sort of related in my mind, I don't know, my wife had been, she died a year ago, but she had been relegated to almost wheelchair status. So not quite, it was more of a walker. And we had gone, I don't know, I can't keep track of time, a couple of years earlier, perhaps, maybe 3 years to, I think it was a Hilton Head area. And because my daughter had an internship in Atlanta, and we took a little side trip with her when we took her down there, and we explored that. And what I noticed was we were at the shopping mall, outlet mall, and I was surprised. She was in the walker, I was pushing her and this and that, and none of the doors were accessible. None. And it was like, it surprised me because generally in this area, and in the Chicago area, you find that. But what I found was people were like making a beeline to, we get no more than, 10 feet from an entrance, and boom, people would be running to open that door for us. It was like really encouraging to see that and surprised by it. But, just a nice testament of maybe that area or, maybe people in general, how people tend to go out of their way to help somebody. And in this sense, I think this park will maybe foster that kind of spirit among children, at least, who are going to be rubbing, shoulders with one another. This whole idea of all inclusive, where people of all abilities will be mixing, and so that leads to education of values and just the whole idea of civility and whatever that is, fostering a whole lot of good things. So I just wanted to bring that up. And then, I don't think the RDC really needs a reminder, but because you've invested in a lot of projects over the years in this town that have been wonderful and appreciated. And I know the committee here will appreciate what you will do tonight, but it certainly is what do you call it, like a legacy investment on your part. So, because as Julissa pointed out, this should, the quality that we've selected is going to last, and it can be added on too. There's Casey's very visionary, and he's already thought about future ideas. And so, anyways, with that in mind, we appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm gonna tag right on that. And the committee knows that I'm very thankful for good speakers. So that's, yeah, very thankful. So thank you. My things is, the dirt work, the maintenance, the long-term effect. There's basically only two styles of surface we can choose from in the whole United States. And to say it's a struggle, it is. I mean, we've been there, and both of them are not perfect. So there's gonna, it's either a turf or port in place. So we're still working on it. They're pretty close in price, but and with the equipment, the piece down there is over 30 years old. And when a vendor came down there and said, "Wow, that's, we put that in, it's still in good shape." And then I find out on different locations that you can actually add on to that structure, like Michigan City did when I did that site visit. And so it's fascinating on the equipment we're learning and seeing and fading and so that's been a big part of what a lot of the discussions on is the equipment quality too. So that's a big thing for me and for the town is picking the right quality. And we had to work with a attorney on the process, how we're going to bid this out. If we could just pick a company, and he's decided that we have to do an RF request for proposal. So pretty much we build the spec sheet, and it'll be like, what can you do for 300, 350, or 400? And then they bring us proposals, and and then we pick. So just a little side note, that's kind of not what I'm working on, trying to put everything together, but I'm heavily focused on the future and the maintenance and upkeep cost, and yeah, there's a lot going on. So you want to go? Yeah, we're going to do a quick video, and then we're going to open it up. Fair enough?
Imagine a playground where every child, teen, adult, and senior, regardless of ability, can play, connect, and thrive together. The Diamond Discovery Zone is that dream in motion, a fully inclusive and accessible space where all abilities can discover the joy of play. This isn't about swings and slides. It's about building a community where everyone belongs, where play is universal language and joy knows no boundaries. With sensory-friendly areas, wide accessible routes, cozy spots for quiet play and fun, interactive equipment, children and adults of all ages, and abilities can play side by side, safely within a fenced area.
The excitement is growing and Albion is ready to make it happen. A playground for everyone to enjoy for generations to come.
Having an inclusive playground in our community will allow myself and my child to enjoy play without the constant worry of him running into unsafe areas like roadways or the river. We often avoid playgrounds because it causes me extreme anxiety that my child will wander into the unsafe areas, which has happened in the past. He also needs a quiet space to get away if the playground is really busy. An inclusive space will allow us both to enjoy ourselves. Everyone deserves that.
A fenced, inclusive playground would give both my son and me the chance to enjoy playtime without the constant worry of safety risks. When a space isn't secure or designed for all abilities, I can't relax. I have to stay on high alert to make sure my son doesn't end up somewhere unsafe.
I want to note those quotes Sonia got from two of her parents with no background other than we're looking at putting in an inclusive playground for all to enjoy. And to see that they hit on so many of the things that we are making a priority was just, it spoke volumes to why what we are really looking at is truly needed.
So many of you know I have been a daycare provider for over 30 years, and I've had hundreds of children through my home. These statistics make most of us in this room stop and think about how blessed we are that we have healthy children and grandchildren, because the statistics are overwhelming of how many children. And with the hundreds I've had, I've probably had a handful that have had some kind of disability. And those experiences were very, very good for me as a person, but even more so the other children in my home at the same time. It's amazing how they can take them in and bond with them and care for them. It's just a really neat experience. And I think not only what we're providing to the children who need it, but the siblings who can now play with them, and the education that we're going to provide to the other families that maybe have not experienced that kind of situation with their family, or even if an extended family. And then real briefly, my husband shared with me this morning, he has a coworker that has a daughter with Down syndrome, and I think she might be around 6 or 7 years old. Over the weekend, their family was shopping, and a gentleman came up to them and told them he could not believe they had their daughter out in public. And it blows my mind. He had never had anyone approach him like that before. He said, this gentleman, and I think he must have been like, 50, 60, said that he had a brother that at 10 years old, the family could no longer deal with him, and he had been in a home ever since. But the gentleman went on and on and on in front of this family about why they had her in public. And those things need to go away. That's a very sad situation. I've never heard anything like that before, but it makes me think about, we are blessed, but the experience that we can offer to other children and families who have the blessing of healthy children and not the experience of what it is to have these challenges. So I think we're reaching a lot further than we even realize we are.
Yeah, and I mean, sorry, anybody else? Yeah, I think we're.
Well, number one, I don't have a lot of experience with the playgrounds and the equipment that are on the playgrounds and how it works to be accessible to all ages. So when I sit here and I look at the swings and I'm going, I don't personally understand, because I haven't seen it, how it works. So, as I look at your proposed equipment.
And I understand now what you're saying, because going in this, like, oh yeah, this is simply the hardest thing I've ever done. Yeah. So I mean, it's mind blowing. I get it now because it is not the same and it's hard to explain until we get it built and what the needs are. Because there is nothing around here like it. It's gonna be like this. There's nothing. So, and we're still discussing the equipment, going back and forth and, you know, so, yeah.
In a nutshell, though, it would be, I think any of the equipment that's not considered all-inclusive, it's focused on safety.
Oh, yeah.
So that no one with a challenge could get injured. It minimizes all of that. So, you know, it's in, you know, that's one of the earmarks, I think.
Like on the swings.
They're
They're a bigger chair and it has like a little hard thing that comes down over top and latches in, so keep them in place.
Yeah.
Almost more like
a
roller coaster.
Yeah. Okay.
And some of the swings too, the other aspect of this idea of all-inclusive where a physically challenged child could enjoy it with perhaps an adult. You know, like the swings have both two in one.
Those are really fun, by the way.
I'm really looking at what can be, you know, like on the structure, has the ramp, so a wheelchair-bound child can go up to the platforms and take advantage of what's up there. But then we've also looked at equipment that if somebody is able to transfer from a wheelchair to a seat or whatever, what that looks like, and making sure we're including those as well, so that if they're able to get on it, they can. The one picture that was in the video had 3 different swings on the structure. So it had the swing that you sit in, and then there's a piece that comes over you, but then there's also a tandem swing where the child or up to a certain weight can sit in it, and the caregiver can sit, or a sibling or whatever. So we've really looked at all kinds of aspects like that as well.
And there were other pieces, you saw in the video, the girl on the roller slide. That was something we were really excited about, but Sonia and her knowledge said, hey, that's a really great piece, but can fingers get stuck? Can neck cord? So we have been evaluating, we pick a piece out, we look at it, and then we pick it apart to see if there could be any future maintenance issues or injury problems or anything like that. So it like down to the stickers on the posts. Like we are making sure we are looking.
That really was a discussion.
I wish I was kidding, but no, we talked about, can it be peeled off? Are they painted on? So we are making sure we dot every I and cross every T as far as looking at the equipment and trying to figure out what we want to use.
I'll also add there, we plan to add a communication board, which you don't see on that, but a communication board provides a board so that majority of children with autism are non-speaking. So they can point at pictures to tell you what they want. They can communicate with their other peers that way. And that's one of the first things we work on with children is how to communicate with those boards and how to talk to other people and tell them what they want. Yeah, we took a lot of thought into all the pieces, like even sensory pieces. So like what pieces would kids with autism and your neurotypical kids enjoy together? And then what about a space for kids who, even neurotypical kids, get overwhelmed if the playground is really busy. So the little house, like they can go in there and kind of escape from the busyness of the playground structure. Swings are definitely the #1 hit with a lot of kids. And I'll say in my experience down at the ball diamond, my kids are there all the time for softball, and the swings have a line. Kids are always running down the swings, so the swing structure is really big because that's a big hit with all kids.
One thing I did notice, which I thought the park where you had it laid out was different, but it's right next to the ballpark, the ball field.
Well, it may not be right to it, but we've had that question about
net.
About what?
A net blocking home runs.
Well,
because I mean, it's
the park did away with. We redid all the diamonds, so like women's softball and men's softball since Kendallville built theirs. So we spent like 20 grand redoing. We can't even have older. Right now we can't, but in the future maybe. But it's 330 feet. So far in our leagues, there is nobody. Yeah, can't do that. But in the future, yeah, net can be put up. So, I mean, that was a thought. It'd be a 400-foot boat. So, yeah.
I won't play there if it gives you any peace. I was an all-star as a grade schooler.
Yeah. And Bev's been on the park board a long time. And Daryl's here. It was Daryl's tenure. I planted the trees that are there. They're gonna cut, there's 3 of them coming down. I transplanted them from the tree nursery. Yeah, it breaks my heart. But we saved that area was earmarked for, I've been there 26 years. I remember 24, 25 years ago, it was talked about that area for that. So, the trees grow, but that's what it is.
So in this layout, again, like we discussed earlier, the park comes up to the pavilion and the current playground stays as it is.
Correct.
There with the fence around it.
Yeah, it'll be, that fence will all be the same.
Okay, you're gonna replace the current fence that's around the current playground with whatever's around this.
It'll be like, if you go like next to the school, it's got a black fence, it'll be, yeah. Yeah.
But it will be the whole area.
Yeah, the whole
Basically,
area.
the pavilion will be in the center.
Mhm.
However, now that we know we can add to the current structure,
Yeah.
we have thought, future phases, maybe adding or kind of translating what's there to the new area, to mix it up more so it's not segregated or divided.
It's gonna feel like it's kind of 2 different segregated areas, right? I mean, when you go up, it's all inclusive and then, this is.
Well, and AWS spoke on that, and they said that, how did she say that? Or was it AWS or? There was a discussion on that, and, they wanted the feel of the younger kids to have that area also. So, I mean,
Yeah, we talked about leaving that, because we had talked about how many younger kids use that once school comes in.
yeah,
How we don't want to change with it or mess with it, but we still want it to be included. That way, if there was families with both types of kids, I guess,
To be in one area.
they could still play in the same space, and mom wouldn't have to, I gotta go over here and check, gotta go, so to keep it all enclosed as one.
yeah.
And kind of keep that geared towards the younger kids.
And we currently, I think somebody asked this question, about redoing the equipment, sir. The RDC gave us $10,000 a few years ago, and I can honestly say, I didn't struggle getting it in, it was a lot of work. Because I was asked the question, are you doing it yourself? I said, yes, so I didn't hire it out. So I kept my promise. Another thing is, we were talking about the playgrounds, and I actually stopped doing the installs because we didn't know what we were gonna do with that existing playground. So we had a vision now, and 2 of the new pieces actually went down there. I actually took a bunch of spring animals out, took them to the soccer field, and put some more equipment down at the baseball diamond, and it's ready to go for springtime for baseball, or even now with all new mulch and like 3 or 4 new pieces that the RDC bought. I think it was like 2 years ago. So yes, we have, and then Valley View's on the radar for hopefully next couple of years changing that out. So
that leads into a question that I have, and that is, with what you're gonna install on the accessible area, is there gonna be any duplicity to other playground areas in our parks? Like any duplicity at all? I didn't think so.
Swings would be the most.
Well, there'll be swings, but there won't be anything like it.
Right.
And that's what you're asking. No,
But the standard swing would be, that's it.
just one. Yeah, I mean,
Brian, to answer your question a little more, one thing the committee is not short on is goals and dreams. So we
Yes.
talked about completely just redoing that space that's already there. But Casey shared with us that he knows there's some drainage work that needs done. So we'd be looking at more cost if we did all of that now. So that's why we're thinking down the road, how can we
We'll
kind
close
of
that
split
off.
these together?
we'll be able to section it off,
What's the current square footage of that park versus the 6,700?
Almost the same.
Almost the same?
Yep. Yep.
So in the future, if you're looking at doing phase 2, are we looking at another 400 and 400?
Well, and that's a good question. The good thing, I'm not actually gonna bring the name. Well, I will, because we interviewed 3 companies. One of the companies is Miracle, and we interviewed three amazing companies. But the structure there is a Miracle structure, and it can be changed. The structure can stay, it's still in great shape, but you could add to it. Instead of jerking it all out, that's a $30,000 structure. So that's the good thing about it, and that's why we decided to do what we're doing, and we can come back. But I would say the highest cost on phase 2, we'll call it, would be the back wall. Can envision a concrete wall, rock climbers, whatever, and bring that hill into play. And then when we do this project, we found the tiles. Because we're talking 20 some years of mulch. It's gotten that thick. It's gonna be a project to get it all out, start work. It'll take a year just to work on that and to clean everything up. And I can envision, and maybe we don't do all turf or all port and play. We do paths, we do some mulch areas, like some people do to save money. We've seen in the past, but then the mulch gets on there. But so,
To make it more uniform.
Yeah.
It's not just 2 separate, but creating ways that it will flow together and look.
So,
But a wheelchair cannot get through
Mulch.
mulch.
Yeah.
So that's a huge
you have to have
downside.
paths.
For those of you that don't know what port and place is, we should have said this earlier, sorry. It's
Yeah.
kind of like the track, if you think about what a track looks like, that's kind of what it is. So, we've been able to see both at playgrounds, the
It's
turf
tough,
and
yeah.
that. And it's
There are.
very nice, but
It is nice. There are complaints that, it feels like it's so soft. And there's rating systems on, what your equipment is and how soft it has to be, your drainage. So, and that's why it is spongy. I could see an older person really complaining. So we're taking everything into consideration. So.
In the proposal, that just brings me to a question. In the proposal, you've got your fencing work, your dirt work, your proposed playground installable surface. How much of that is surface and how much of it's equipment?
That's a great question. I could tell you it's 100,000 just for the surface on that 5 to 7, 600 or 6,000 square feet. Yep.
And you've talked about it already. In reading the stuff that you sent over to me, one of the surfaces has a 15-year warranty, but it has to be maintained a couple times a year, cleaning or whatever, and then the other surface has a 5-year warranty. And I'm asking the question about the cost of maintaining that surface.
We absolutely.
And what your plans are to fund that cost.
And that's a good question. Like we did the skateboard park, I think we just found out we have like 16,000 extra for maintenance. Maintenance cost is a big deal. We're gonna make sure that we have a percentage for maintenance. But I'm gonna have to learn, and I've been talking to the folks that have these surfaces. You're gonna have to learn how to take care of it. We blow all the leaves off right now, off of all the concrete because it stains. That's part of doing it. And then if it rips up, the time, just take care of the warranty, or if it's out of warranty. But the biggest thing is keeping everything that's not supposed to be on there. So learning, going to class, whatever class it is to do it.
From talking with the people in the other parks that you've talked to, does anybody have ballpark maintenance costs on these things?
It hasn't been very high. Even with the installers, there might be a piece, what was the example that they had to cut out and tear out?
The swings.
Oh, yes.
Get rubbed.
Yes.
The guy, again at Miracle has been great, and he talked about how instead of with port in place, you don't have to rip up all of the port in place. You can actually just take out a small section, And you can actually create designs with it and make it look new in the future. So if it's rubbed in places and worn, you can cut out that small section and replace it. And it's obviously
It's not all in one thing.
Right.
It's two pieces.
To give you a price on a 10 by 10 area, I have not dove into that yet. You know, there's only so many companies in the United States, you know, so, you can actually mix it, do it yourself, but that's another, you know, it's like dealing with asphalt, you know, that chemical and that reaction, so.
But right now, you don't have a planned maintenance budget that it's gonna take to support this year over year over year.
You know, I mean, that's a good question. I think that'll come into play once we finalize everything. But a quick thought, you know, would be a few thousand a year unless something major happens. So like the splash pad, we have a fund for that. We're actually met today. We're spending like $8,000 out of that fund. We won't have a budget item, but in the future we could, or a donation fund. But hopefully we do like we have on the other projects, that we have extra money, things go really well, and, yeah, there will be a plan.
Well, I'll put it this way, what's your maintenance cost on the park that's sitting there right now? Like how much you spend on that a year?
Besides mulch, up until we bought the equipment for 25 years, was just mulch. And yeah, whoever said about the equipment, that says something. Even with the spring animals, you know, if you go down there and see some of the people that shouldn't be on there. And that's why I switched some things out, because we tend to have we have smaller kids at soccer field versus the one that's why I changed that out. And we already did that. So besides mulch, few thousand a year for mulch. And the 10,000 RDC did a few years ago was the first that, unless somebody can remember, that we spent. But maintenance.
In my view, the primary maintenance on this is gonna be the surface.
Absolutely, we understand that. And the turf, what's ironic, the guy that built our splash pad is now selling the turf in Fort Wayne. Yeah, I know. It's come a long ways. We're still gonna connect. We're not sold on turf. I think all of us can say that. I think we all can say that. So I'm not spending a lot of time on that yet. So, you know.
What was the other option besides the turf?
Port in place. There's only two.
Like Sonia or Tiffany mentioned, the roller table thing, that was one of the things that we looked at. And, you know, that specific park, it did not roll, didn't work correctly. So then we came back and discussed, why is that broken? So there were rocks in it that could have been a part. Maybe it needed greased and it hadn't been done. So looking at kind of all of those maintenance side of things, and not picking something that's going to be a maintenance.
That's something Casey's always brought up too when we were talking to the vendors. I'm like, hey, we're looking at this, I can't remember what it's called, it's like a merry-go-round that a wheelchair can go in, it's got a turn. But Casey asked, well, how can we grease this? How do I get in there? Like, what can I do? So he's already thinking about that as we're like, this is a really cool piece of equipment. Casey looks together and finally says, okay, what's it gonna take to maintain it? So we're keeping that in mind.
And that's why I said, we're all kind of geared, you know, going different directions. We all have our strengths.
I'm confident in with the other parks that Casey's connected with that have equipment like this, or the vendors themselves. They've been very forthcoming with information.
All
so
of them.
I think when we get to that point and we've decided the equipment, we've decided the ground, all of that, we would be able to get a pretty close number of how much that maintenance and upkeep budget needed to be.
Are you saying poured in place?
Yeah.
Like a low density asphalt or?
You know, and then turns rubber, yes.
So it's like
I think I might have sent a link on that, on my report, if maybe, but where I was trying to and I failed, but yeah, it's fascinating why it reminds me of asphalt. Oh, you know, there's kind it cures. Yeah.
There's a drainage.
This was something we were concerned about being more than Indiana winters.
And also thinking about the day-to-day maintenance. So like the one park that I went to that has the turf, there was an ice cream truck there that day. So there was ice cream all over the turf. Well, that's not just gonna wash away very easy. So thinking about those things.
Right.
as
Does it
well.
drain through it or does it have to run off?
It does all. You need drainage for everything.
Right.
Under it, around it. You know, we've talked about hill, I've had Jack going, I've shot, you know, we're gonna, you know, we don't wanna spend a lot of money until we get really committed with the letter moving forward. We know we can make this area work, because every vendor asks one question: does it hold water now? And the answer is no. So, Jack found tile, I didn't even know it was there, you know, by Witchin, so we know we're in a good spot, close to the ditch for drainage. And another thing, we're gonna have security lights, there, we're gonna have water, power, so, you know, all that's gonna be in the works this next year to start moving forward. So. And we're gonna do a lot of that, my goal is to do a lot of the in-house work, unless we get somebody that will donate, and that's to be used to a match grant. So let's say it's 30,000, and they'll match that in-kind donation, so, yeah. A lot of moving parts.
Little side note, but another thing AWS really liked hearing that we already have is that restroom.
And
That's there at basketball courts is already an accessible restroom, so.
and the asphalt.
Yep.
You'll see on my, well, some of you, but on town report, we're gonna start asking for quotes for, about 15 years ago, we put that handicap parking in, or most of it's handicap, we're gonna make it all, and we're gonna do a fine coat, because it was only a base coat. Well, it's getting really bad. We spent $5,000 a few years ago just by sealing it. It lasts for 1 year. So we're gonna ask for, permission to get quotes, and then to get that done. It'll probably be late next year with everybody being so busy, but that's gonna be done. It won't affect our project. It's gonna tie right into it. That part, AWS said absolutely, that shows in-kind faith effort that you guys are really gonna move forward with this, and that's things they like to see. So.
Any questions?
Yeah.
When the RDC is done, you want to see if anybody that came tonight.
Do you know how many entrances they're planned for? Egress and egress? For the enclosure? One, just one? Oh, I thought you were like.
I don't know if we talked about that much, but I know the stuff I've read, and that's a great question, just like the splash pad. One, and it's gonna be right there where that asphalt is. You know, you'll get out of, if you're in a wheelchair, you'll be able to go out in front and go right in. So, did you think we need to, or?
No, I was just, I thought you were like, just a minute.
No.
Did I miss something?
Well, I know how engineers think, we all think different. And
Thank you for all the information. I don't think I have questions. I have thoughts about fundraising, but I've already
well,
talked with
we
Stacy
would
some
sure
about
love
that.
to have those thoughts.
Yeah, but, that's kind of beyond the topic tonight, so.
No. I'm all in. Just tell you that right now.
All right. What about anybody in the crowd?
Actually, I know that we could have written letters of support,
but I'm here from the town council. And I didn't want to write a letter of support, so I thought I would just show up. And I have to go to the restroom.
But you showed up to support it.
I am here to show my support. And I think that they have all spent so much time visiting and actually spending their own personal time, you know, visiting and actually doing their homework. So, I'm in support.
Bob?
I am a member of the park board, have been for around 20 years. I'm a retired PE teacher, and I have worked with some physically handicapped children and have tried to adapt games and things to include them in the classroom. So I am very supportive of it.
I think what we need to realize too is there's more eyes on that park than just this community.
Yeah.
And an example of that was the letter that we got from the Department of Natural Resources stating that we have one of the nicest parks in the state of Indiana. And when I don't go down there a lot, but when we have been down there, I always meet somebody that's not from Alabama. And they just stop in and they can't believe the park that we have here. They're amazed at it. So I think that hopefully the RDC will somehow support this project. And I know the council's ready to support whatever the RDC wants and what the park board wants. But I'm pretty, from what I've heard and having 20+ years, I guess, on the park board, when the park wasn't near what it is today, I'm pretty happy about putting something like this in.
Just a fun, quick fact, when Daryl, I think he hired me, our budget was $72,000, and our next year's budget is like 210, 220, 230, whatever. So we've grown, and it shows. And we've got a lot of good support and
a lot of people in the community.
And just Kendallville, northern Indiana. So, yeah, very grateful.
I know AWS noted in their letter that while they know we're going to apply for a grant with them, they can't guarantee the funding. However, I will say they are beyond amazing. I work with them quite a bit, work weekly with them in my role, and I've looked at a lot of the parks and playgrounds that they have funded, and part of me, it was in the news a couple months ago maybe that they had just funded one in Fort Wayne, and I couldn't help but ask myself, why did they fund that? Because it wasn't anything like we're thinking. So I know they can't promise it, but I have a pretty good feeling that we would.
So you look at us as the seed, the start to get the ball rolling.
You know, we kind of talked about what happens if we get 50,000 or 100. We're like, man, it's going to be tough. You know, we don't know what's going to happen this next year. We have a good idea. Put some feelers out with some factories, you know, and you don't want to jump the gun, especially with council, everything that's going on. Word gets out that you're fundraising. No, that's not our intent, but just trying to put feelers out. We know things are changing a little, and we know we're going to have challenges, but I think we're ready.
We're coming to you because obviously Casey had already previously discussed this with you guys, but when we met with AWS, the program manager that we met with has no final say in the decision. It goes before a grant board. But she said they may say we'll match up to this. So we also know that is a potential. So that's kind of why we're doing some work on the front side before we go to them.
Well, and plus we're making a chart that's of like when they're due. It's possible we don't ask AWS until the end. So we're trying to weigh out, because their fiscal cycle is totally different than the DECO or the community.
And they work on a certain amount for the year.
Yes.
So she told us that they had seen more requests this year than they've seen historically. So she also kind of enlightened us that, you could come to us at the end of the fiscal year and we only have $5,000 to give you and you've applied. So that's what we're going to get. Where if you come at the beginning of the year. So we're also weighing that and discussing what does that look like and where is the best option.
Bosch has that give back program.
Yep.
I'm on their, like, they didn't want to see us until we got the approval. And didn't want to jump the cart.
So, this, again, it's the starter fund that's gonna give you a chunk of it that allows you to try to go to other people and say, we've got this funding so far, we need to get to this goal.
Yes.
Okay.
We've also talked as a committee that we have a goal, but we're also, once we can determine what funder we want to go with, can get an itemized list from each of them so that if we say our goal is 400,000, but we only get 350, then we can look at it and say, okay, what can we take off versus constantly going back to them and saying, okay, we need an updated rendering because we didn't get that goal.
Yeah, we gotta keep in mind, and no disrespect to our attorney, we've already spent $2,000 or $3,000 on attorney fees by the RFP, so we've gotta pretty much do it right, and that's why, there's factors in that.
Right, you can't, every time you even talk to him, it's $500.
What about new signage, like adding to the already signage?
That's part of what they will provide. They have signage that tells like safety considerations and.
Well, I'm talking about like for Hidden Diamond Park, like say it had Discovery Zone.
Well, the wayfinding sign got hit by a car, so it's down.
You're gonna need a new signpost.
So we've discussed that as a group. That is a goal. Once we get done, we're gonna slowly change all the signs around, and every zone is gonna be, it's gonna be named.
Because coming from out of town, they, say, oh, Hidden Diamond Park. Well, that's not the hidden, Discovery Zone.
We've talked about.
No, that's on our radar.
Okay.
Absolutely. We got a lot on our radar. Signage is a big thing.
Promotions in general.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time on that. We spent time on logos, and we're not gonna, we got shirts we want to wear, but we don't want to do it until we get approvals. So we're ready to keep running.
All right. I would have one other general question on the RDC funding side. As we found out recently, that historically we've done certain things. All of the funding for the parks has come from TIP 1 because it's connected to TIP 1. My question would be, it is something that's in general, it's for the community.
Right.
Is it any possibility of using some TIP 2 funds for this?
I believe the answer is yes. Now, we had a specific answer from our attorney on can we use either TIP 1 or TIP 2 on the police vehicle? And the answer was yes, because the police vehicle is a benefit to the entire town. Therefore, you can draw from whichever TIP district you'd like to, based on your preference and the fund availability.
Not a percentage, it's.
Correct.
2027.
Yeah, any percentage, any amount you want. And just by, we didn't ask him specifically on the park, but it stands to reason that the same rationale should apply.
And I know that the mapping for the school district and that for 2, how do we service some of those areas? We had a school call the other day. They want to do some classes at our wetland area for butterflies and whatever. So we're servicing, a lot of that area already with the park. So I think there's good.
I think that would be an interesting thing that in the resolution right now, it calls for TIP one spending.
Yep, right, yeah, and I pulled that, I think, I don't know why exactly, it might have been just historically.
Historically,
I saw,
everything we've done for the park has
but
been from TIP
your
one.
point is well taken, and I think we can, if you decide, hey, let's do it all from TIP two, then I will just redraft that, say approve the resolution with the
Right.
change.
I don't want to do anything that if we have to find out legally to for sure that is approval,
I think we can run with this one and ask, forgiveness later if we find out I don't think we're gonna need that, but I think, based on the other advice, there's a parallel.
Tip two somehow splitting it out or.
What do you
I
think?
think we should get the attorney to confirm.
What?
I think we should get the attorney to confirm that we can use it. The police and fire, recent legislation allows TIF funds to be used for police and fire. I would think you could make the argument to do it, but I think he should weigh in.
In that case, then, and that's fine, the board could say, if it's your preference to take it all from TIF two, make that motion, we approve it, from TIF two, subject to
legal.
Well, you can put 1 and 2, that way you got your bases covered. And
There you
you
go.
can determine
either one.
Determine where.
where it's gonna come from later and how much from each one.
I did mean to mention earlier, I think the funding information that we provided you with as far as grant brainstorming and stuff was mostly factories and such within Albion, but we will be going, obviously it could be a countywide, multi-county use, so we will go beyond that. We just haven't gotten to that part on the list yet.
Or is the RDC comfortable with the amount that's being asked for right now, the $250,000?
Yeah.
Especially the same too.
Okay. So, what would we need to do to change that?
Well, I think,
Pending.
we've got them, pardon me, Brian?
Pending approval.
Yeah, I think mainly just make the motion to approve resolution number 2025-05. And with the change, how you want it. If you want all of that 250 out of TIF 2, and then say with the 250 out of TIF number, with the following change or whatever, 250 out of TIF number 2, subject to legal approval. And then, Josh, I didn't mean to ignore you. You said something about making it flexible. I think the corollary would be if the attorney comes back and says, no, sorry, it's got to be TIF 1, then that would be the fallback. So we have to come back again.
Amend the resolution at that point and send it.
It would be nice just to do it all in one fell swoop, because we'd like to have this letter in hand to be able to send it out. I don't know, we do a letter, but or you could have the resolution.
Yeah,
the letter
or
and the
we've got to get
resolution.
the council's approval at the next meeting, which isn't until November 25th. So we got, I think he can have a answer, yeah. So, yeah.
If we do it just TIP 2, and if the council says, no, we shouldn't go that way, do we have to have a special meeting to redo it for TIF 1?
Can the motion be made with the contingency? That if it's not approved, if it's not.
Then it would be TIF 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Do it all in one fell
Sounds
swoop,
like
one
it.
motion, and handle it all.
But 1 and 2 on that was covered. And because we should be able to determine based on what it is on the
So in
police
other
car.
words, we're all okay with it all coming out of TIF 1 if we can't do 2. Is that what I hear?
That's what it would have to be.
Right.
And I just want to make sure we're kind of.
Or you can split it if the attorney says you can split it, if that's what you want to do.
Right.
Okay.
If that's what you want to do.
Well, Chris, we have a problem spending out of 2.
Okay, if you want to split it, if that's what you want to do, if you want to do TIF all out of TIF 2, if that's what you want to do.
We would prefer to spend it out of TIF 2, but if it has to come out of TIF 1, my sense is so be it, right? That's gonna hurt TIF one.
Okay, so you wanna
especially
do it all out
next
of
year.
TIF two if you can.
Right.
Correct.
If you can't, then you wanna do it out of TIF one.
So-
That's our only choice.
So the motion maybe could say, make the motion to approve 250,000 from TIF number 2 to purchase the ADA accessible playground equipment pending legal approval. Otherwise,
TIF one.
TIF 1 or whatever percentage the attorney allows out of TIF 1, 2.
The whole project, yeah.
It's for the project, not just the equipment.
Is this 2026's money?
No, this is 2027's money. It's
Yeah.
not on the budget for 2026.
Yeah,
I'll have
We
to
have
put it in
no-
the spending plan next year.
So we can easily appropriate it depending on how it comes out.
All right, so I'm gonna make a motion to approve RDC resolution number 2025-05 with an amendment that the amount of 250,000 come out of TIF 2. And if that is not approved by legal counsel, that we allow the split to come out of TIF 1 and 2 as necessary, or all of TIF 1, whichever. That was not very pretty, but that's my motion.
Never know.
Susan, have to write that down.
You good?
You
You
good?
want me to repeat it or
You can
not?
fix me a little
I think
Do you have it?
I have the gist of it,
Go
yeah.
back and watch the video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have a motion
Check it out.
on resolution 2025-05. Is there a second?
I'll say.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And,
Thank you.
thank you, and, with the council, I assume proving at the next meeting, can we get a letter by December? In December, would that be from the president, or would that be from, who would that be from?
We can work it out, I think, Brian. Maybe we'll do a joint, we'll figure it out. We'll do a letter based on this approval, basically.
In my opinion, that's a big deal, instead of saying, here's the minutes.
For
You know.
for the resolution, but yeah.
Yeah, even town council, at some point, letter.
I'm gonna just make a recommendation, knowing that I have some influence on the website.
Yes,
That maybe the
that was
park
a discussion
department
point.
do some kind of an announcement, because this will be public, assuming it's approved. If it is approved by the council, to just give people a general overview, because.
And that's part of what we made the video for.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah, so that was a big discussion point on when. We don't want to jump the gun until we have this is a big project.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure everybody understands it before we get Matt Gatz or, I really don't want to put too much more on Facebook because I respect the paper. I want to have an article built and then at the same time, work with you on the Facebook.
Maybe even just like have him go through the frequently asked questions.
Yeah.
The ones that I keep hearing are like, and Brian alluded to it too, what does it mean? So some actual examples or videos showing what's different about that swing or something like that.
Yep.
The difficulty right now is we can't use specific vendors. That's why we put photos from the parks in there.
Yeah, and if we went the other route,
Mhm.
we could.
Mhm.
And now we're gonna have to get approval to use pictures with what so it'd have been a lot easier the other way, but out of respect, we're moving forward with the other process.
Cool.
Yeah. So.
Be careful. That's all you can do.
Yeah, well, we've already, yeah.
Great job.
Yeah, we're trying,
So you guys have done plenty of homework.
well, we said 3 years. That was a quick year almost. But,
And we appreciate your patience this evening and talking with us. I know we went a little bit past your 30-minute timeline that you thought we could get to.
well, they call me Wendy.
We'll take that off your council minute.
Hey, I'm trying to, that might be a long one. Thank you very much.
Hey, can we see some of them books too?
Yes, I can, actually, I'm gonna leave them here because the next meeting is here. Right now?
No,
Oh, for the meeting.
I mean, like, can we see some of them books sometime?
They're staying. Yes.
All the committee also has copies of them.
Yep.
I mean, I don't want one like to keep, I just wanna see one sometime.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, very good.
Not to be rude or anything, but
Yeah, no problem.
You're leaving?
I'm out of here.
Poor Scott.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the police.
I know.
Police.
Everything's been, on the topic of the police vehicle, it's been spelled out for you there on the agenda. You did this last year as well. And again, it's a $40,220 request, is the which you have the summary in front of you from where the marshal got his three price quotes from, and he went with the lowest one, Fletcher Chrysler, and Franklin, Indiana. And anyway, the split can be changed. It was suggested 30,000 from TIF 1, 10,220 from TIF 2. This, we have the specific attorney opinion that you can put 100% on one TIF or the other, or any percentage. There's no rhyme or reason. It's up to whatever the RDC prefers.
Following a life enriching presentation like that, mine's gonna seem kind of boring.
Do you have any supporters with you?
Well, mine's a lot less money.
Video clip.
No video clip. Go out in the parking lot, look at a Dodge. I did get 3 quotes, like you guys requested. I did run in front of council. I did get approval for it, and then you're one of my funding sources to make it fruition, or come to fruition. I did want to tell you that you did you did purchase the 2024 Dodge Durango, the RDC did. And this vehicle came in $77 less than the 2024 vehicle, which is a miracle in itself. So I'm just asking.
So you got ripped off the first time.
Huh?
So you got ripped off the
Oh,
first
no.
time.
That one's not even been in the shop yet, so.
It needs more plastic.
Yeah, more plastic and lighter. But, so I'm here to request out of TIF 1, TIF 2. Steve and I have talked about it, so whatever he's put on your, the resolution form, whatever you guys agree to, that'd be great. If you have any questions, I can gladly field them for you, but that sheet should be cut and dry. If you want to see the actual RFQ packets, I got them in my folder. You're more than welcome to review them, but that's just a summary of everything in the TIF packages. It is a grassroots part of, in my opinion, a grassroots part of the economic development, emergency services in general. That's just a must in reality if you're planning on growth or to keep what you got. So we do service all 3 TIFs, however, TIF 3.
Discussion, I would say we take it all out of TIF 2.
I'm agreeing with that. I will make a motion that we take $40,220 out of TIF 2 to fund the police pursuit vehicle.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Cool. We can still get out of here.
Well, you think you got
Casey
another
would
hour?
learn to talk like you. Casey's passionate.
Well, the team's passed. I can't speak like that.
We maybe had a few more questions on his.
Yeah.
Yeah, and legitimately so.
I mean, we just want to know, really though,
10 times.
don't we want to know, is the police vehicle going to be an all-inclusive?
Oh, boy. It'll fit one, yeah, and maybe 1 or 2 in the back. when needed.
There's no discrimination on who writes.
No discrimination at all. Everybody can be included.
Anybody, that's all. That's trying.
We should probably put that on a sign on the back passenger
There you go.
compartment. All inclusive.
The next action on the agenda would be the approval of the 2026 TIF spending plan.
Yeah, so this is a requirement of the Department of Local Government Finance that Carol will upload into the gateway system. She does that annually. And of note is that we had, back in May, we did what was called this document here, the 2024 TIF management report, reporting on the prior year's activity. And then with that, we include a projection of the current year's spending plan, 2025, and the next year's spending plan, 2026. So it was, those numbers were kind of first birthed here, but then in the process of the town's budget, we kind of revised it to reflect, I think, roofing and this and that. So the numbers do not jive exactly. So the numbers you see in front of you tonight called the 2026 TIF spending plan. And there's a worksheet which details for each TIF district what the numbers are. All of that is was adopted by the council in its budget process. And so those are the numbers that we're needing to put before the DLGF in the format that they require, which is before you, the letter that we have Brian sign tonight, and then Carol updates that, and I think you update the worksheet as well as part of the letter as an attachment. Pardon?
I upload it.
Oh, I mean, the worksheet is part of the letter?
Yeah, I upload everything that you provided. I upload in Gateway.
Okay. Yeah, so all of this would be given to DLG, the letter from Brian, and then this worksheet is kind of an attachment to it. It shows the basis, I think, of, how everything was figured out.
Okay. My questions on this would be, as we found out from our attorney, things like on the town for a police vehicle or a fire vehicle, something that's going to support the town, that it can be split unequally or go either way. And taking that thought into consideration, when we look at the TIF 1 capital plan and the TIF 2 capital plan, are we restricted that we can only spend so much in each one based on here, or because part of his judgment was we had to have that money in the plan.
But you can amend the plan.
You can amend it, yeah. But yes, you're right. The plan creates the upper ceiling of the pie in the sky possibility. It doesn't mean we're going to, but it allows us to spend that huge amount, let's say the ceiling amount, which in TIF 3, we were talking about that.
You're talking about humble pie there.
I know, but look at the spending plan.
Yeah, the spending plan is not humble for TIF 3.
It's bigger than either TIF 1 or TIF 2.
I know, I saw it. This don't make no sense.
I guess the question I'm specifically asking is that on TIF 1 spending plans, we have a equipment, various departments, including police, fire. The support that we have for the police and fire departments are 140,000 in the spending plan for TIF 1, and it is 50,000 in TIF 2. I guess I'm asking that since we now have this information, is that a limitation for 2026 that you can only spend 50,000 out of TIF 2 for those types of products?
It is, unless we were to amend it, and it's in there. The limitation was kind of imposed once the council adopted those amounts.
So it's set in stone right now, and it would take the council to change one of those numbers.
You can transfer.
You can transfer between TIF 1 and TIF 2 on those?
Not between those, but within those. So,
Okay.
so like if you have one line item that's 100,000 and another item that's 50, and you want to move from another line item within the same TIF.
Yeah, I see.
then
And
you could
we
do
did that with facade grant money a
Yeah.
year or two ago.
Yes.
And I feel like that sometimes that 100,000, we have an economic development on all three of these. Could be some of that slush fund,
Mhm.
because we rarely have anything that comes out
I'm
of
just
that.
asking the
Yeah.
question, so when I sign this, what?
No,
what
that's,
happens?
it's a great question and it's a great answer by Carol, so that's good to know. There's some flexibility within these overall dollar limits that has been established for each TIF.
I'm just curious, the way the spending plan is laid out, is that dictated to us, or is that created by the town? The categories that are actually
Categories?
shown on these spending plans?
Well, Carol pointed out, we talked about it, the spending plan came from, I think Carol thought it was originally from AIM, but the document that we got it from was our finance consultants, get their name.
I think you're talking about the template for the
Template.
spending plan.
The
but I
worksheet
think
itself.
Lori is talking about the actual appropriations.
No, I'm really just talking about the layout of the worksheet
Oh,
as a
okay,
template.
yes,
And
that-
I'll tell you why I'm asking this question is I don't see in any of these, and I think that an RDC can actually purchase property.
Oh.
And I don't see
Well-
anywhere on here where,
That would be
Economic development.
capital expenditure. I don't know, but we could add that at some point, but I believe that would be a capital expenditure if we ever
that's what I wonder, so, yeah, I didn't know
chose.
where that would fit in and.
Mhm.
I
We
just-
don't have a line item within item C, capital expenditure,
Okay.
but it could be added. It'd be described there and then funded there.
But this can be amended at any time, so, to me, I feel like that's kind of the key.
Yeah, in the TIF 3, I know Brian and I talked about it, he had a question, we had a conversation a week ago, but that one is unusual because that was kind of a pie in the sky amount. We thought, what if we get a housing development that is going to need some kind of town infusion of RDC funds, and might involve a bond issue, and so that tries to kind of reflect that. And just by way of heads up, Brian and I discussed it, there is interest casually of a particular landowner and to maybe work in concert with a developer or that group hub and even be noble to kind of put together a plan and that would involve town and specifically RDC TIF funds by way of stimulating that development to occur, housing related development on the, out by some vacant land areas within the town.
All right. So with all that said,
I think a motion would be appropriate if you want to simplify things, unless somebody disagrees, would be to approve the 2026 TIF spending plan, which is all three of the worksheets and all three of the, well, and then, the three letters that'll go to LDLGF signed by Brian. I don't know if you want to authorize the letter as well, but you could, approving the 2026 TIF spending plan and letter to the DLGF. Something to that effect.
any further discussion or thoughts? No? Is there a motion to approve the 2026 spending plan
And
and
corresponding
letters?
letter to DLGF.
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion, we have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, last item on the agenda is the review of the facade improvement matching grant program.
I believe the minutes from October 8th kind of summarized the major changes. By the way, the changes really weren't changes. It was what had been adopted way back in, March of 2023, but it never made it to the, in writing and therefore to the website. And we discovered that with our recent application here of the,
Right.
Yeah,
Anyway,
anyway,
we'd like to get this done so that the correct information's up there on the website.
yes.
And the only change that I'm aware of that we did make from that was the project timeline. And that's the only one that I'm aware of.
I agree.
Right. In this, if you adopt this tonight or with any changes you want to make, this will go to council by really because of that, maybe that one extra change, just by way of formality, we will bring it to them. And
Okay. So do we need a resolution to accept this?
no, not a resolution, but I think a motion.
To accept the revised facade grant program?
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion to revise the paperwork associated with the matching grant or the facade improvement matching grant program. That being the application and the guidelines that accompany it, to incorporate the major changes listed and the amendment to require the project to start within 1 year and finish within 6 months of application.
Is there a second on that?
I'll second, yeah.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay.
And let's see, before everybody leaves, I don't know the police vehicle, we can sign that. That was approved as is. If I could pass this around, Josh, if you don't mind.
Actually, we took
No?
that out of TIF 2.
That's right. Apologize. So I'll make changes on pretty much everything we did, except for the letters. The letters and, well, minutes, I have, Brian, for you, minutes to sign.
I can do that.
Okay. And then, the last minutes have been approved, but you had to get your signature. Look at that. And then
The letters?
the letters.
Only been dark for 2.5 hours.
Yeah. I do appreciate the daylight in the morning.
Yeah.
See if
There is some daylight till at least noon.
I'm just grateful Zane makes me up every morning, whatever.
I never understood that the proposal to
Until
keep,
5.
to not change the time, fixes us on daylight savings time. It doesn't go back to standard time.
Every morning.
The proposal to the Congress is to
Oh, it's to
take
stay
daylight
up
savings time all year round.
Yep.
I do that.
Gets me.
At least you wouldn't have to change. So I'll get you.
I don't want her to say it like that.
Okay.
10 o'clock.
I know.
And when I have to go to
Yeah,
bed,
same.
not even hear it.
It's hard to go to
Oh,
sleep.
Kirby can shoot his house. Yeah. Zane's got like.
I just think we need to
Oh,
adjust
yeah.
our
Oh, they does?
Every morning.
Figure that
So
out.
is that,
10 till 5.
Are they still
hey Casey, is that a complaint then?
Nope.
Oh, I thought, okay,
I love
I was gonna go ahead and write it down.
Always, I used to be a truck for my.
I don't sleep much.
They're all.
Oh, it's on tape.
Sorry, Zane.
I got it broke,
And then,
but.
do we have to get together to
What
sign
that,
the
okay.
other? All 5 of us have to sign the others, right?
Okay.
The rest of those.
Yeah.
I'll put some on the table and I'll reorganize everything unless somebody wants.
I've had these for a member.
I mean, what if we sign it and I just handwrite the changes? Yeah. I don't know, and then I do an official one.
Carport light on, unlock the door.
You know what I mean?
Of course, I turn the news on.
Is that the
About my business.
police,
Outside. It's good.
why don't we do that, if you don't mind, and then I can always,
Minutes and 3 letters.
okay. If the group wouldn't mind, I'll pass around the resolution for the police vehicle. But I'll just pencil
sign it
in, yeah,
Initial and
What do you
final.
need?
yes.
I was saying,
You can have-
County does
you
it
can
all
have
the
it
time
all.
on their minutes.
Let's
You
do
pull
that.
up the scan copies and scribbles them.
And so this is the resolution for the police, we said, is, let's see. It's gonna be out of TIF number 2. The amount of 422 in TIF funds
You know, my only concern with that is the maintenance cost of that.
from TIF number 2.
Four in place?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my only concern.
My concern is everything we build is cost.
Hey, Josh,
Yeah.
So
all that come from TIF number
Oh.
2, I just picked that up.
we talk about that a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know that the school does a lot of maintenance on that track, and if it's a similar
Thank you.
design, it lasts, seems like it lasts quite a while.
Years out of that.
Mhm.
Very expensive.
They don't want vehicles on it.
Right.
Because that'll destroy it, but. Yeah, it wasn't cheap to put in either, that's for sure.
See you, Casey.
Thank you.
See you, Kate.
Thank you, Scott.
Mhm.
A couple more to get.
It's all
Let's go out. There's any more.
You can really just take the telescope out there and set it up out there.
I gotta sign it too, so I can, I'll initial the change.
I looked out the back to the house.
Well, I gotta tell you, look up with your phone.
Yeah,
Because you
iPhone's an handset.
You can't see it until you see it through your phone, and then you're like, oh, now I can see it.
Anything like that, take out binoculars or anything like that, that's a larger view, that can bring more light in than what you can normally get.
What time we supposed to be able to see this?
They said like, it's dark tonight.
Really, right now?
They were saying it was actually happening during daylight today.
Wow.
So if it's happening, comes and goes too. You can stand there for 20 minutes, not see anything, and 5 minutes later.
Anything else?
No, I don't have anything, thanks, Brian.
All right, any other discussion, any thoughts?
No, sir.
All right, I think
I
we're
wish
looking
you'd
for a
say.
motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second for adjournment, all in favor?
Aye.
They don't normally last this long, Brady.
Oh.